Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Hare Jaya Ranji Bengaluru Ranji Bengaluru Ranji Jaya Ranji Bengaluru Jaya Jagannath Saladeva Jaya Bhadra Jaya Sahasana Jaya Gauranitha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Sananta De Narasimha Jaya Sananta De Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya 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 Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Gaura Hari जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजाकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिगोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर श्री नवद्वीप धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। द्वारका धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेत गौरभक्त वृंद की जय। गौरभक्त प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraye
Tato Jayam Diraye
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki.
Hari Om Tat Sat. So Hare Krishna devotees, welcome for ISKCON Seshadripuram morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today I have been instructed to take up discussion on third canto, 28th chapter, verse number 34. I will read this verse. Evam harau bhagavati pratilabha bhavo bhaktya dravad dridhaya utpalakaha pramodhat autkantya baspa kalaya muhur ardyamanas tachapi chitta badisham sanakair viyunkte. Read the word by word meaning. Evam, thus, Harau, towards Lord Hari, Bhagavati, the personality of Godhead, Pratilabha, developed, Bhavaha, Bhavaha, pure love, Bhaktya, by devotional service, Dravat, melting, Hridayaha, his heart, Utpulakaha, experiencing standing of the hairs of the body, Pramodat, from excessive joy, Autkantya, occasioned by intense love, Baspakalaya, by the stream of tears, Muhu, constantly, Ardyamanaha, being afflicted, Tat, that, Cha, and Api, even, Chitta, the mind, Badisam, hook, Sanakaihi, gradually, Viyunkte, withdraws. Translation. By following this course, the yogis develop pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari. In the course of his progress in devotional service, the hairs on his body stands erect through excessive joy, and he is constantly bathed in a stream of tears occasioned by intense love. Gradually, even the mind, which is used as the means to attract the Lord, as one attracts a fish to a hook, withdraws from material activity. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Here it is clearly mentioned that meditation, which is an action of the mind, is not the perfect stage of samadhi or absorption. In the beginning, the mind is employed in attracting the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in the higher stages, there is no question of using the mind. A devotee becomes accustomed to serving the Supreme Lord by purification of his senses. In other words, the yoga principles of meditation are required as long as one is not situated in pure devotional service. The mind is used to purify the senses, but when the senses are purified by meditation, there is no need to sit in a particular place and try to meditate upon the form of the Lord. One becomes so habituated that he automatically engages in the personal service of the Lord. When the mind forcibly is engaged upon the form of the Lord, that is called Nirbija Yoga or lifeless yoga. For the yogi does not automatically engage in the personal service of the Lord. But when he is constantly thinking of the Lord, that is called Sabija Yoga or living yoga. One has to be promoted to the platform of living yoga. One should engage in the service of the Lord 24 hours a day, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. The stage of Premanjana Churita can be attained by developing complete love. When one's love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service is fully developed, one always sees the Lord even without artificially meditating on his form. His vision is divine because he has no other engagement. At this stage of spiritual realization, it is not necessary to engage the mind artificially. Since the meditation recommended in the lower stages is a means to come to the platform of devotional service, those already engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord are above such meditation. This stage of perfection is called Krishna consciousness. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Gurminitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamakyam Tadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrinda Vaneshwari Rishabhana Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirdisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Om Tat Sat. Okay, so welcome devotees for today's temple. Temple's Srimad Bhagavatam class is ISKCON Seshadripuram. Temple's Srimad Bhagavatam class. So as I mentioned earlier, we are discussing today the third canto, 28th chapter. The third canto, 28th chapter is called Kapila's Instruction on Devotional Services. So now we are discussing the verse number 34. So now this chapter, Kapila's Instruction on Devotional Service, has been ongoing for some time. I don't know even if it is for a month. And we have been seeing the instructions of Kapila Dev is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord incarnates in many forms, and it's unlimited number of incarnations he's doing. And this Kapila Dev incarnation is one of the most important one, where the Lord expounds on the this philosophy of devotional service very nicely. Now, in this one, he is talking about the system of how the devotees gradually develop to the platform of Krishna consciousness through the process of meditation. You have been seeing in the previous verses also how here he is giving instructions on how do you meditate. It is not like in generally today I've even heard like people saying that the purpose of this meditation is simply to keep your mind blank, right? Just don't focus on anything, just completely keep the mind blank, and so it becomes completely calm. There is no activity there and all that. But if you see here in Srimad Bhagavatam, it very clearly explains that the meditation is the process of linking with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you can link only by able to focus on that particular object on which you are supposed to link. And that means the purpose here is linking with not with any mundane material things, or even not with some peace or whatever. These are all derivatives of the original linking process. When you nicely link with the correct what you are supposed correct object, then these things are derivatives, means they automatically come. But then people today, they leave out the object of that thing, but come to the derivatives. So that will never happen unless you reach to the top. Then from there the derivatives come. If you don't have that object, then where is the question of whatever else which derives from that? But they are aiming for that derivative without having the main object. So this is a farce kind of a meditation. But clearly here it is said, like if you see the last verse here, Kapila they were saying one should actually meditate on the laughter. The previous verse he said one should meditate on the smile of the Lord. And then in the next verse, he's saying one should meditate on the laughter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And actually he's trying to explain also how that meditating on the laughter will actually be bringing us closer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's a very beautiful step of how you will be able to bring the mind under control. So the ultimate objective of this meditation is, of course, to link to that Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the process, because we are caught up in a state of illusion, caught up in a state of what do you call falsehood, not in the real state, we now need to use a specific process by which we come to the reality. From illusion to reality we have to come. And for that, we are encompassed inside this body. And in this body, the tool which will help us get there is the mind. So we have seen in Bhagavad Gita also, there are verses which talks about mind can be the best friend or mind can be the worst enemy. There is a verse like that. Therefore, what is being stated here is the mind is the tool by which we are able to actually connect to the more subtler forms of our connect to the more subtler forms of our existence to the gross forms of the existence. Therefore, in other words, the mind is the what do you call the intermediary layer. That means we are having this so-called body. It comprises of 8 elements. The 5 elements which are basically the gross body consisting of the various senses. The Pancha Indriya, they call it, made of these Pancha Indriyas. And then after that, there is this layer of mind. And then there is the layer of intelligence. And then there is the false ego. So these 8 elements comprises of the body. And our entire journey is basically to be able to come out of the thinking that, I am actually these 8 layers. I'm actually connected to that soul, which is actually sitting inside this body, which is a yantra ruda. That means it is actually a machine. He says, yantra rudani maya. That means we are in that false impression that we are this body. Actually, with this body is actually the vehicle in which the actual person is sitting. So for the actual person to come to that control, it is not possible so easily because he is encompassed with these 8 items. And what is physically seen is this gross body, but he has to achieve it through this physical body, right? He just cannot be away from the body because he has been in this body and he has been so much conditioned to be able to think of this body as his own self-existence. Now, to get out of that process, he needs to use these various layers, which is actually the intelligence, which will tell him that, this is what is the purpose of life. Therefore, you need to actually drive towards it. That intelligence is telling us, even as we hear Bhagavatam classes, Bhagavad Gita classes, our mind immediately says, yes, this is correct. This is very nice. And I think this is the purpose of life. I think I should go there. Right? So many times we are inspired when we hear the Bhagavatam classes or Bhagavad Gita classes, or when we go to the temple, when we see the devotees joyfully performing devotion service, we feel, wow, this is so fantastic. I should also be there. So this comes even to someone who comes newly first time to this temple. And then first time, sometimes he hears a Srimad Bhagavatam class or a Srimad Bhagavad Gita class. Or when he hears a nice Vaishnava song, they feel, wow, this is so nice, so beautiful. I get it. I should actually take up devotional service. So this is intelligence, which is actually appealing to the person. But in reality, what happens? We are there, we are very much enthused. But post that activity of finishing the Bhagavatam class, then we just go out of the class, go out of the temple, go out of association of the devotees. Immediately, so many other things are there around us, right? We see some nice sound coming up, some music playing somewhere, or we see some nice picture. Then there is someone calling up, talking about some wonderful vacation they had. There are so many distractions that happens, or more importantly, we get sucked up in our office work. We work like mad, like 8 or 12 to 14 hours we work. And then, all these things takes over. The body starts craving for rest. The body has all these other problems. Then slowly we get drawn away from this thing. Now, that happens because the senses are engaged there and the mind is actually controlling the senses. Therefore, the mind is the predominating deity there in that sense. While intelligence is wanting understanding, getting a little bit of a nectar of real constitutional position, the mind is not allowing it to actually remain there. It is pulling us back to say, hey, Baba, that's all nice. Take that as an entertainment. That means the temple or the Bhagavatam class or whatever. But the reality is, you are the body, right? You are the senses. So please feed the senses nicely. So the mind is just pulling away, denying the intelligence of its statement and trying to get away from what the intelligence is telling and telling that, actually, we are the body. And let's now focus on the bodily requirements. So just go to the shop and have this wonderful, they make the best of gulab jamuns, or they make this one, this is so nice. We have heard so many reviews about this. Let's go there. So the mind will try to run away from the intelligence while the mind is supposed to be controlled by the intelligence. And when the mind runs away, it directly controls the senses. And when it directly controls the senses, yes, immediately we are on the trip. It will tell the legs, hey, you prepare to go there. It will tell so many different faculties. Your tongue, you get ready to taste that beautiful gulab jamun in that particular shop. One by one, our mind starts planning, and then execution becomes easy for the mind because the senses, which are actually the parts of that machine, are directly controlled, and it will just drive you towards that. So naturally, we get swayed and we just run away. But here, the process is, therefore, how do you control the mind? Therefore, that process is called as the yoga system. And here it's very beautifully explained one by one. How do you, right from sitting posture to how do you start meditating, and then finally, how you keep going on like that. And in this particular verse, it is coming to a kind of a state where, what happens when you are able to completely control the mind. That particular thing has been talked here, where I will read this verse again. Now you will be able to relate to the background that I have given. By following this course, that means the process of meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, gradually, so this word is very important. Prabhupada so many times writes gradually. It is not like an overnight event that tomorrow I will become completely self-realized. No. Even when you are following this mechanical yoga process, it's not going to happen like that. Gradually develops pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. In the course of his progress in devotional service, the hairs of his body stand erect through excessive joy. That means what is the symptoms of one who has come to that stage of perfection is that the hairs of his body stands erect through excessive joy. So there is excessive joy. That is the point. And symptom is the hair standing on end. That is the symptom. And he is constantly bathed in a stream of tears occasioned by intense love. So that means he is all the time having tears running down his cheeks, and in that ecstasy, he is all the time in that mood. Again, gradually, even the mind, which he used to as means to attract the Lord, as one attracts a fish to a hook, withdraws from material activity. So that is the most important word which we need to underline. So the mind, which is used as a tool to pull the senses, everything, control everything from the material objects, at that time it stops thinking that, I am the body. It stops getting attracted to the material aspects. So the mind, which is controlling the senses, which is actually pulling us towards material life, suddenly becomes controlled. As a result of that control, the senses are no more in a position to act, right, towards material gratification. And then this person is able to now use his intelligence to drive towards the actual path of Krishna consciousness. So this entire process of meditation is actually to control the mind. And when you control the mind, we actually are able to go in the direction in which we want to know. So it's like when you have the steering wheel, when you are driving, the steering wheel is supposed to drive you to the place where you want to go. But up to now, the steering wheel is not in our control. Someone else is taking charge, right? So it is going left, right, center, whichever way it likes to go. But when that time when you actually are able to hold the steering and then take it to the way you want to drive, that point is what is being described. And that time is so very blissful, is being mentioned. And Prabhupada is elaborately discussing here about the point that, therefore, clearly the object of yoga practice is only a mechanical process. And if you are able to understand why we are doing it, then is there a better way of doing it, particularly in the Kali Yuga? Because, the Kali Yuga, where is the time? Like, see, everything, the more you intensely engage, then that will sit in your mind. You look at whatever we do in our practical life. See, they say even the greatest of singers, the greatest of sportsmen, what we see, they are giving superlative performances when they are performing. Like, the intricacies of the raga, if you're an exponent, those people will, wow, what? See, we may sing, okay, he or she is just singing, and then there are some very nice things where it made me clap. But that much we understand. But those experts will understand how they went in so beautifully, those small, that, without moving one bit into that grammar of that raga, they will just go there and come and be within that, so many things that they will be able to appreciate. But all of this happens in that half an hour or 1 hour of performance. But then if you ask that singer, how are you able to do this? They will see, I have spent hours and hours and hours on the practicing this thing, If you go and engage with them, they will say that. Same with any sportsman. if he is performing there for that match, it's what we see externally, but internally the kind of effort that that person has put in, we will understand. So what does it say here is, the more we engage, the more we are getting soaked into that particular activity, which of course in the process it also brings in the expertise. But the person first should feel more connected to that whole thing, right? Therefore, he is engaging more and more and deeper and deeper and deeper into that subject matter. So now like this, when the mind, now this is also a mechanical process, right? Where if you are able to engage the mind more and more and more into the activity of meditating on the different aspects of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is able to come to that point of control. But now this process, why I'm saying is, when you are doing this, that means you need to be doing this yoga for hours together to be able to come to that point. So that is what I'm trying to drive at. But in reality, in our in our current material existence, are we able to spend time like that? We may go, okay, morning, there's a yoga class, half an hour class, 45 minutes class, something like that. You can sit, you may feel little nice, but after that, are you able to put that into that same intensity in which or be remaining inside that meditating of the Supreme Lord is not practically possible. And there are so many prerequisites for performing yoga that we have seen in Bhagavad Gita in various chapters. Therefore, that process, even though it's all nice and very good and very authentic and authorized, in today's context is very difficult. Therefore, then how do you do it is the question. Now, the biggest and easiest process, the most simplest process is the direct engagement in devotional service, which means, like, for example, let's say today's your yoga session is 45 minutes. Like today, now our Bhagavatam class is 45 minutes, let's say. Okay, fine. Equate that to this one. Now, at the end of this session, now, if you are able to yoga there, it finishes. After that, you go take your bath, you do your whatever, or you take your bath already, you are sitting in that yoga, gently you do it. I don't know how do you, maybe you take your bath, then you take your breakfast, then you run to your office, then you continue your work and you're sucked up everywhere. That's it. That half an hour of yoga is just that half an hour of yoga. But here, after let's say we finish this class and we go back doing to whatever we are doing, let's take, prasad. There again, it is prasad, right? That means the person who has cooked it, if he or she is able to think of the Lord and prepare, that is that yoga for that person, right? And when you are having, you are actually eating sanctified food, or in other words, prasadam. And there it is also, even your eating process, that becomes yoga. Okay, it's even if you don't, you anyway say Mahaprasade Govinde Namo Brahmane Vaishnava, that means you are thinking about the Lord as, how these grains are going to actually make you spiritualized. Thinking about that, and you are honoring the prasad. But the other bonus given is, even if you are not able to think, because you are honoring prasad, that is a devotional activity. So that your yoga is continuing from there. Then you are driving to work, and while driving to work, you have the facility of hearing, right? Srila Prabhupada's classes of kirtan, so many things, facilities are available. Simply put it on the car or put it in our earphone, and we are able to hear a wonderful class or kirtan, whatever in relation to Krishna we hear. We are on the way, we are going. Now, when we are working also, we can have a simple photo, and we are just looking at the Lord as we are working. Like, even though how much busy you are, just your eye can just keep going on back to the Lord. And that way, we are actually able to continue this yoga process through and through. So it's not like, okay, it's only half an hour for my time. You are actually doing whatever you are doing in your normal course of your day. Nothing is changing. But at the same time, you are trying to increase your time of yoga. That means the devotional yoga or the bhakti yoga, which you are able to continuously do. And in the process, what happens? Here, we also see, right? There are the occasions when you go to the temple, you stand in front of the deities, sometimes the tears start coming, right? Sometimes we completely, not aware of what's happening because you are so much engrossed in the deity's beauty, like how they have dressed the deity. These things happen. Some very rarely. It's not very every day we have these emotions. But some days, we are able to feel that very clearly. So what this verse, some of them, like, the hair standing, hairs on this body stands erect, maybe not too much of that, but you will have tears coming from your eyes, even though not incessantly through the day. We do get a glimpse of it for a few seconds. We get the tears when you are engaged in a nice kirtan. Sometimes, I've seen many devotees, when they are engaged in nice kirtan, they're closing their eyes, you can see the tears just coming out of their eyes. Or when devotees are engaged in a nice Bhagavatam class by a very wonderful devotee, we can see that they get transformed to that particular Leela of that Lord. And then, they all are in a different age group, whatever it is, they forget their external environment. They are there, along in that Leela, they are participating like that. So such things we can experience. And this is gradually mentioned, but the point here is practically we can apply this. The yoga system is not very practical in modern day, where we cannot do, given so many do's and don'ts there. But here the do's are, the don'ts are like nothing. Very little that we have don'ts. Whatever our normal way of life, we can actually take it up and we can quickly get to that point. And therefore, the secret, therefore, is basically to be engaging more and more and more and more and more in devotional life. So, Prabhupada, how very, he's a great visionary in the sense, he has actually practically thought through how I can make these devotees practical devotees, not simply Namkya Vaste devotees or someone by devotee by name only. If you really think about it, right from our childhood, we have all been in India, at least, most people are 90% of the people or 95% of the people are aware. They all go to the temple. They have some symbols in their forehead or in their body, which represents that they are God conscious. So we have been going on in this journey for how many hours we have before we came to Krishna consciousness movement under the shelter of Srila Prabhupada. But what was happening was this kind of thing. I will also do this for 10 minutes, 15 minutes in a day. But beyond that, I really don't have any appreciation of this devotional service. I don't have this either inclination or even if I have an inclination to be able to get the correct understanding of why I should do, what I should do, what is the purpose, what is the technique and all that. But Prabhupada actually has given this facility by which practically we engage day to day, minute to minute, hour to hour. And then you can see the transformation that hundreds and thousands of people have actually become nice devotees. They have completely changed their lifestyle from very nonsensical way of living to very, very, very pure and refined way of living. And then their consciousness immediately wakes up to take up that sadhana bhakti becomes very strong in their life. So it's no more like, the last 30 years or 40 years, I've simply been going to the temple, coming, putting some donation, taking one little prasad, here and there. When so many times when we say in our temple programs, when we are outreach programs, when we say, okay, prasad, people's mind is prasad means you just take a small donna and then, little small thing they will eat, So to their mind, devotional service is only that much, not that, prasad means I should actually be eating only Krishna prasad 24/7. Whenever I eat, that I should only eat prasad. Their conception is go take a little of it. You give a little, no, it's okay. They'll say like that because they think, that little only will be there. So that their mind is nice to say this should be distributed to everybody. But when you offer them a plate and say, you eat it, this is all for you, they're surprised. Go fully, you give like this. Yes, we give like this. This is prasad. Prasad means you eat fully, not like take one small piece into your mouth and put it like that and feel very gratified. Prasad is like, so small things. If you go back in your memory lane, you will understand. Yes, I really understand this. So Prabhupada has given, there was a time when he used to say, I've seen that, devotees mention or the writings that Prabhupada say, actually, I can give you 365 festivals to celebrate. Not simply like, 5 festivals or 6 festivals or 7 festivals. The idea is that we are completely getting ourselves soaked again and again and again into our devotional activity, and that is also at a sadhana bhakti level. We are actually only trying to follow, in one sense, the rules and regulations, right? Okay, so tomorrow this festival, how many of us really feel, wow, Janmashtami is coming, I'm so ecstatic. But then we are part of a congregation, then there's a lot of celebration planned, and I have a role to play. I have to do this, I have to do this. So I'm running around somehow trying to meet these deadlines that, I'm in charge of the pandal, I have to ensure everything is in place. I am in charge of the mic system. I am in charge of this one. I am in charge of this class for that 1 hour in that slot in that Janmashtami thing. So I am engaged trying to see, okay, I need to read and get, this is going on. So in that process, if you see, initially it is more about, okay, I am doing the activity, like, I am, because I have to do this, because of course it is voluntary. I myself have volunteered that I will do. Nobody is forcing me to do it. But in that process, we are initially engaging our mind, but it is also that yoga. See, the point is this yoga is there, which is, in this case of a direct devotional service, is actually automatic. You don't have to do any preparatory work. You actually realize that you are already halfway into the yoga, because even before the class starts, you have been thinking, tomorrow I should be there on this time. You plan something, your activity, that I should reach the temple in time for this Bhagavatam class. That process is also yoga. It's not like during that half an hour when you sit in the class. Therefore, if you see, we are more and more able to dedicate more time, and you are already all the time sitting in this yoga process. And as a result, we quickly, that gradually is actually, we are engaging more and more time in that, and that gradual becomes in one lifetime, right? In this one lifetime we can achieve. But the other gradual, when you talk about the actual yoga process, will take bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyante. That means we will take many janmas to reach to that point. But in this process, we reach in this one janma. Even that one janma is gradual, right? It's not like I suddenly, within a half a year, I am fully dedicated. I am 24/7 Krishna conscious. No, I am not. But I am spending a lot of time. Lot of my mind space is being occupied by devotional activity. Without myself knowing. That is the beauty how Prabhupada, with this visionary thinking, created this so many programs of how morning Mangalarti to Saina Arati, so many programs, so many festivals, so many groups, so many strategies by which devotional activity can be had. Some festival or the other, or the book distribution, or setting up different small units, and then they develop into your temple. And that is a life's mission for a few set of devotees who, like yesterday, we were there in the South Temple inauguration. So he said, I started this process in 1995, and today we are having this temple. So if you see that, what 28 years for that team of devotees to come to this point of making a temple. Temple is like, it's a starting point in one sense, because now they have to do nice worship and they have to do. So, but if you see how much engagement is there, and it's a life's mission for a lot of people if we take up something like that. And in that process, in this one lifetime, we can all go back to Godhead. And that's the point that Prabhupada is driving, that devotional service is actually the best form of yoga. And if you are actually doing devotional service, then you do not need to do yoga. That is the point he's also saying, that, you are already crossed that stage where you are able to apply your mind on meditating on that Lord, and therefore you don't need any specific yoga practice. So if you have, of course, for some bodily mechanical, some bodily issues are there, like, I have a back problem, therefore, to set it right, just like we go to a doctor and he gives you some exercises, like that you will do yoga. But our yoga is not to connect to the Lord, because we are using even a better tool of connecting to the Lord through the process of devotional service. Therefore, Prabhupada is recommending here that, you simply take up devotional service and you're good. So he's saying, right, last one, if he's saying, since the meditation recommended in the lower stages is a means to come to the platform of devotional service, those already engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord are above such meditation. This stage of perfection is called the Krishna consciousness. So if you have come to the platform of direct devotional service, that means hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, engaging in Kirtan, accepting or preparing nice bhoga for the Lord and accepting prasadam all the time, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, engaged in preaching, talking to people about the greatness of Krishna consciousness, and serving so many devotees all around us, and organizing facilities, making donations to the temple, to the congregation, to see how we can use our Lakshmi towards all these things. All of these things are actually much above the earlier process of mentioned of yoga system. So having said that, now and the last 7 minutes are there, we will discuss about how this yoga was practiced 24/7, which is the best example that we can think about. If we have to think in our Krishna conscious movement, then everybody can immediately be able to relate to the Acharya of Harinama. That means Haridas Thakur, right? Today is the disappearance day of Haridas Thakur, and what a day to actually relate to this particular verse to Haridas Thakur, that he never performed any sitting posture yoga, but he attained the complete perfection by simply taking up devotional service. So we all know Haridas Thakur was born in a very lowly family. That means he was in those days the kind of what do you call, in the society there used to be like a lot of divisions, and he was a Mohammedan at that point in time, where the Hindus considered the Mohammedan lower in whatever that. This is more of a thinking, not that it's like that way people have to think, but the society was thinking that way, that he's a Mohammedan of caste kind of a thing. But actually, if you really know who is Haridas Thakur is none other than Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma, when Krishna was there 5,000 years back, so he stole the cows and the calves and the gopas, right? When Krishna was tendering the calves and along with his friends, he was there. Then this Brahma was thinking, who is this young boy? He's drinking too much of himself. He's doing so many wonderful pastimes, but I have to teach him a lessons. So thinking like that, he actually took away the boys and the cows, the calves. So Krishna was then able to understand, okay, this is Brahma's doing, and therefore Brahma is actually getting puffed up. He does not understand, that who am I and who I am, and he is thinking too much of himself, that he is the ultimate, and therefore let him give him a lesson. He's a devotee though, right? So it's not like a demon that I will kill him, but the Lord thought I will give him a lesson. I will make him understand what his real position is, what my real position is. So the Lord expanded himself into various forms of these calves and the gopas, and he was active. And the situation was that nothing has happened. So these calves went back to their mother, the boys went to their mother, and everything was happening as though nothing happened. You just imagine, it is not like gopa means 2 or 3 gopas and then some 10 calves. No, there are hundreds and thousands of calves and boys. That was the theme of Lord Krishna. So if so many people suddenly vanished, how it would be? Like, it will be like, it's such a big thing that, the entire city is lost. People have suddenly vanished, like COVID. Suddenly so many people vanished. But then nothing was felt because everything was happening, and Brahma realized after a year that, everything continues to happen and nothing has happened. My stealing activity has no impact on this boy. Then he realized this boy, he is not a simple manushya, that means a simple man, but he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then he comes and surrenders on to him. And so that we all know the story. But in that process, what he felt is, I have offended the Supreme Personality of God. And the Lord does not chastise him or anything. He says, then when he comes back, he says, okay, he immediately, once he comes and says, I'm sorry, then all the boys who are there, then they all transform into Vishnus, right? And then the original boys are then released by Brahma. And then when he sees all of these things, he understands that he is the Supreme Personality of God. And then Krishna does not make any big, like Indra, he does not chastise him or anything. He simply leaves him there. But Brahma, being the greatest of devotee, he felt, I have offended the Supreme Personality of God. Now I need to I need to reform. I need to do prayaschitta for my offense. And then he is actually going to Mayapur. He sits in Mayapur before, what we know of Mayapur. And in Navadvip he sits and he chants Gau Ranga, Gau Ranga, Gau Ranga, like this. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's actual appearance. Then he appears there, and then he says, why are you calling me here, like that? Then he says, Brahma says, I have made a mistake. I have offended at your lotus feet. I need to do prayaschitta. That means I need to do what do you call? I forget the English word. I need to anyway, I forget the word. So I need to do prayaschitta for this. Then the Lord says, okay, no problem. I will come to the same place, Navadvipa, at a later point in time in Kali Yuga. At that time, you can come, and because you are puffed up and you thought you are the thing, now you will come as a very lowly, someone who should feel small. Therefore, you come in a very outcast kind of a family. You come and then you learn humility. You are puffed up to think, I am so great, I will steal these boys and I will show this boy a lesson. You are puffed up. So that puffed up thing will, can go away if you take that role kind of a thing. That was the arrangement. As a result, Lord Brahma came as Haridas Thakur, and he was also there during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's times. And what Haridas Thakur used to do is he used to simply chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. He will chant for 24 hours a day. He used to have 3 lakh times. He took a commitment that I will chant 3 lakh times the names of the Lord. That translates into what? I don't know how many times. So 192 rounds. 192 rounds. If you have to calculate, we are supposed to chant 16 rounds. He used to chant 192 rounds of Harinama Sankirtana, Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day to make his commitment of chanting so many 3 lakh names every day. So he did that for all his life. And when he was in Puri, actually that time you can't have other than Hindus entering the time. I think even now it may be applicable. We know in Puri they don't even allow Western bodies to go inside the temple. So Haridas Thakur was not even allowed to go inside Puri, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there also. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, it's okay if you don't go inside. You look at the chakra on top of the main, the gopura, and then that is not different from Jagannath. You take darshan from there only, he used to say. But more importantly, he will take darshan from outside and he will go. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than Krishna. He is Krishna and Radha himself combined, and he will go to inside the Jagannath Puri, the temple. He will bring prasad from there. He will directly go to where Haridas Thakur is residing, and he will sit with him. He will feed him this prasad, and he will have a nice exchange. So that means Jagannath himself, there is this, say Jagannath, say Gaur, say Krishna. That means Krishna, Jagannath, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are not different. That is there in Srimad, in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that same Jagannath, that same Krishna, that same Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he will, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he will go and sit with Haridas Thakur, and they used to have wonderful exchanges. So for many months it went on, right? So, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so happy hearing to Haridas Thakur's whatever, his hearing Krishna consciousness from Haridas Thakur, and there's a wonderful exchange. And this is toward the end of his life. So today is his disappearance day, so we are talking about that. So towards the end, then Haridas Thakur, one day, he was feeling very weak and tired, and he was sick actually. Then when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went, he said, I think the time has come for me actually he said, the time has come for you to end your pastimes. I think you are going to end your pastime sooner than later, and I don't want to remain here after that. I want to just remember you and then leave this body. So they had this discussion, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard him, and then they again had those discussions, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went back. Like this few days he was going and coming, And finally, one day within that period, he actually, that last day came when Haridas Thakur said, now I will have to leave today. So let me please die looking at your beautiful face. So he, die means not like our material death, like Lord Brahma, right? He wanted to leave this, wind up his pastime and go back to Godhead. So then he was chanting the holy name, looking at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's face, and then he left that particular body. Then immediately Chaitanya Mahaprabhu carried him in both his hands and he started dancing, with the body of Haridas Thakur. He started dancing ecstatically up and down in a big way. And then he carried that body all the way from the place where the house, and then he took him to the beach, right? We know in Odisha where the temple Puri is there. There's a nice beach there. So he took him to that spot, and then he made, there thousands and thousands of people all came to that, because Haridas Thakur has left and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there with him like that. So many thousands of people came, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered a big festival where huge preparations were made for prasadam, like that, so many things. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself made a samadhi for Haridas Thakur. I believe, I have not seen, but I believe it is there in the banks of, not the bank, but it's what we call the beach. It is there. And then a wonderful feast was served because this great personality went back to Godhead. So this is the greatness of Haridas Thakur. Very, very small portion. There are so many wonderful leelas between Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Haridas Thakur. But I just picked up a very high level, this one for the last 10 minutes, kind of a summarization. So this is very important that we can actually, we need to simply take up devotional service. And by this process, we can actually supersede every other processes of going back to Godhead. And this process is a very proven method. Many people have gone in the past. Many people are going today. We are in our own lifetime seeing many wonderful people remembering the Lord. Ante Narayana Smriti is there, right? The verse which says, what you remember at the time of death, you attain that state, O Krishna, O Arjuna. So that state we can attain by simply looking at that Supreme Personality of Godhead, talking about Him, thinking about Him if we leave the body. And we are seeing many devotees in current our life, we are seeing many devotees passing away like that. So they are reaching that perfection. And in the future also this will happen. Next 10,000 years is the golden period. Like from the time Prabhupada appeared, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, Krishna said, right, after 5,000 years, there is a period which will be golden period, which will be there for 10,000 years. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared 4,500 years from that Kali Yuga, and then 500 years passed after he left, and then Prabhupada appeared, and then that golden period has started. Like, he has now inundated the world with that Harinama Sankirtana, and everybody is actually talking about Krishna consciousness. So it's a matter of time when the whole world will be dancing and singing Harinam on the streets, and everywhere it will only be Harinama Sankirtan. That will happen. That's going to be the golden period, 10,000 years. So there's a wonderful opportunity that Prabhupada has given so mercifully. So if we are able to somehow cling on, with our whatever sadhana, everything, and we are there in the association of devotees, it's a matter of time before we go back to Godhead. But before that, we can make this, the whole world, we can try our own bit, little, 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, whatever we can make them devotees, give them this taste of Krishna consciousness. That will be perfection of our life. Hare Krishna, I will end here. I'm sorry I overshot. If there are any questions or comments, welcome.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Danda Pranam.
Danda Pranam.
Very enlightening class, Prabhuji. Thanks a lot. Prabhuji, with intelligence, one can control the mind and senses. But when a person doesn't have intelligence, how to gain intelligence?
Yeah.
How exactly? Yes, Prabhuji.
Right. So actually, intelligence is there. Right, actually, intelligence is the thing which will actually give command to the mind, but the mind is not listening. So the intelligence is there. It is not like people are not. See, the thing is, the Krishna consciousness. So here the objective is intelligence is not material intelligence, right? Intelligence is that intelligence by which you are able to drive back to Godhead, right? Or which tells you what is the actual state. So now if you really see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying, the inherent nature to love Krishna is there in everyone's heart. So if you really look at it, that means that awareness is there in our heart. Only thing is it is dormant. So the idea is to wake up that. Actually, intelligence means that knowledge is already there inside us. So everyone is intelligent, even the animals. But it is kind of a dormant state. So the idea of waking up that dormant state is simply to somehow engage in some devotional service or the other. It is like this, the chicken or egg. See, they say, like if you, whether the egg came from the chicken or the chicken came from egg, nobody will be able to answer this question. Similarly, you will not be able to know whether by, by hearing Harinam or doing some devotional service, you become a devotee, or as you become a devotee, you are chanting Harinam. See, I will tell you this example. If supposing there is some party going, Harinam Sankirtan party going somewhere, you and I, for example, have no idea, no thought about Krishna consciousness or anything. But as those devotees are going on the road singing, there are so many sounds that are there around me. This is one sound in my ear. I simply hear that. That's all. I have no connection. I have nothing. But that one hearing actually plants that seed in my head, which will sort of is the first hit to wake up that sleeping intelligence. So now in that process, by just getting that little mercy, I will get more inclination. So now this is how the intelligence is woken up. That means first thing is the mercy. Somewhere or the other, we should get that mercy of devotional service. Without my knowledge, if you hand say little prasadam to someone, when they eat that prasadam, that first crack has happened. That means that dormant energy is about to be woken up some point in time. That has happened. Now, for us to, then what happens from there? You get an inclination, very small. It would be a minute, very, 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 very small. That little favorable thing comes. Then you engage a little bit more, and then something more comes. Though something more. So it keeps on adding. Then it becomes a big, like how the avalanche starts, right? There is nothing big first. Initially, a small snow shows rolling. Then slowly that gathers mass. And as the rolling snow gathers, it becomes a huge mountain, and it can destroy a whole city underneath, right? Like that. As we take this little bit of mercy, and we are able to get more mercy, and that then it becomes a big pralaya of devotion. So how to engage that intelligence, how to do it is simply engage in some form or other in devotional service. That's all. Simply engage. Try to engage the mind. I know it's very difficult to do like any yoga and all that, but small things is the easiest thing. Little prasadam, like that. For you and me, it's not little prasadam. All the time we take prasadam. And for you and me, it's not about simply little, okay, today I am attending a few Bhagavatam classes. Can I do more Bhagavatam classes? Today I am doing XYZ services. Can I add one more bit, little more like this? We have to keep on increasing this because we are even more trained to do that, right? Because when you are trained, you become even more faster. That gradually becomes even more faster. So that way, if you are able to it's not like we don't know what is perfection. When we will reach that, that is not the point. In Krishna consciousness, both the means and the result are both the same. You underline this. The means and the end are both the same. Therefore, today, you and I are sitting in this class and we are both talking and listening and, thinking about it. We are actually at the end only, not the means, right? The question is, can we be like this 24/7? That is what we are practicing. It's not like, because Krishna consciousness is so transcendental that even if you are engaging, you are actually in that perfectional state. Question is, can I keep myself engaged 24/7? That is the question we are all trying to work on. But that means that intelligence is already engaged. It is working. But just that now we need to come to this point of 24/7, which Prabhupada writes. So how to engage? How to make the intelligence? If I am not intelligent, no, we are intelligent. That means that is inborn. Now, how to wake up that intelligence is by engaging. Little engagement takes higher, more engagement takes higher, more engagement. So our state right now for this audience at least is that how do we engage more? That is the question. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Prabhuji. The means and what you said, Prabhuji, the mean, the underline that what was it?
Means, see, if, for example, if you have to eat, now the means is you have to first buy vegetables, you have to cut them, you have to do this, you have to do this, then you can make prasada, right? You can make boga, offer it, and then it becomes your thing. So your end result is nourishing the body with food. But the means is first now taking the walking to the shop, buying, all this is means. Now in Krishna consciousness, the means and the end both are same. Like, so why are you doing Krishna consciousness now? If I am to ask you, actually the end is after you go back to Godhead, there also you are going to be talking Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, relishing, eating prasadam, dancing, singing, all this. So the end is also that. How to get to that end is actually means is what we are doing today, sadhana bhakti. You and I are sitting in a class and listening. This is called means to come to that perfection, but that perfection is also being there only. So the means and end are the same. But the question is, how can I be in this state 24/7? That's all. So it's not different. Like going to the shop to buy vegetable is different from actually eating. But here, perfection in Krishna consciousness means hearing Krishna Katha, talking Krishna Katha. Now also hearing Krishna Katha, talking Krishna Katha. That's all. So therefore the means and the end both are same.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Thanks a lot, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Danda Pranam. Jai.
Danda Pranam, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Okay, so any other questions? Any other comments? Okay, if not, Hare Krishna, Lalita Bhanu Mataji. So you just joined, we are just ending. If you have any thoughts. Hare Krishna.
No, Prabhu, I was seeing in Facebook. Now I was hearing, Prabhu.
Okay, nice. Thank you very much for that. Any questions anyone have?
Thank you, Prabhuji, for your wonderful session today.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I extended a little bit.
No problem. More nectar, the better.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Very glad, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, dear devotees. We'll see you all tomorrow. Danda Pranam.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Haridas Thakur ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai.